I will hit record. So I want to welcome everyone to our team call tonight. As I'm sure people are still joining, but we are recording, so people can catch the recording. Tonight we have not one superstar, but we have two superstar coaches on. Not officially 15-star yet, but they're going to be soon. These guys are a power couple. It's Tina and Joe Gonzales, and I'm going to have to read all their accolades because they have so many. So Joe joined in, I think Joe and Tina both joined in 2011. So they've been in the business about as long as I have. Joe was an SC10 All-Star, or is an SC10 All-Star. He's a SC5 legend. He was a premier coach in 2013 and an elite coach in 2014. And he is a 5-star in his primary business center and a 1-star in his second. And both Tina and Joe are members of Team Swarm. So that's Tommy Migrant's team, if you guys are familiar with Tommy. And Tina, let's see, let me scroll down to hers. Tina is a wife and a mom. She's a 6-star diamond elite coach. She's a 2-time elite coach. And let's see, she's a Success Club legend and all-star as well. And they currently combined still have about 1,600 coaches in their team. So they're about the same size as us, which is very cool. So I will turn it over to you guys, and I'm sure everybody wants to hear your story and hear how you work together without killing each other, and how, you know, one got the other one in the business and all those good things. So.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you very much, Greg. We really do appreciate this, and it's quite a pleasure and an honor for us. I want to first just let you all know I've known Greg now for about, 18 months now, right, Greg? Mm-hmm. When we first started seeing each other at the leadership events and Success Club events. And I just want to let you all know what an amazing friend, what an amazing leader you have. Greg is truly a superstar in the business. And we're blessed to know him, and I know you all feel that you're blessed to have him as your coach as well. So we really do appreciate this time with you all. And we just hope that you can take a little bit of something from us. Everybody's a little bit different, does things a little bit different. You know, as Greg said, we've been doing this for 4 years now. And I think, you know, we learned we all have a story. And my story and how I got started in the business, I'm 46 years old now. In 2008, I was a 40-year-old banker, had been living my dream, I thought, as a banker. And wouldn't you know it, the housing crisis, the banking crisis all comes. I was a leading producer in my organization as a sales officer for the bank. And the bank decides to, you know, their stock price collapse. I lose all kinds of money in my 401k, stock options go blank. And they decided to cut my bonus by 90%. And this was my dream career. I thought I was making it. I came home and dropped to my knees and said to Tina, we were living in our dream house on the lake, which is Lake Erie in Ohio, Cleveland. And I said, I'm selling this house, I'm selling my motorcycles, selling the car, and I'm never working for anybody else again. And Tina said, I support you, whatever you want to do, quit your job, I'll go anywhere with you, but if that's the case, why are we living in Ohio and staying here? I need to get someplace warm in the winter. And I said, I will make that happen. We'll figure out a way to make that happen. Fast forward a couple of years, and through all that stress, I had lost or gained, you know, 20 pounds approximately, and I found P90X. And I had written down my life goals during all of that of what I really wanted in life. And I said I wanted to be happy and healthy with my wife. I wanted to be less than 170 pounds. I wanted to create something people remember me by. I wanted to have $1 million in the bank in 5 years or less again. And all that manifested into me leaving my job, discovering P90X, posting on Facebook one day, boy, if you can make it through P90X, I don't want to fight you. And with that, my 23-year-old niece reached out to me and said, Uncle Joe, if you're doing that, you might be interested in this. And she introduced me to the Beachbody opportunity. I was her very first coach. My brother wasn't even her coach yet, her dad. And, you know, I was working on my own at the time because I had left my job and was a broker then and working 60 or 70 hours a week. And I just said, Alyssa, I really don't have time for anything, but I'll help you out for sure because I wanted to help my niece and I'd do anything for my niece. And I said, I'll, you know, definitely buy a program off of you. So I started with Insanity, and she said, well, if you wanted to sign up with a coach, you could get a discount on these things.
And she said, I can make $30.
Yeah, and she said, I can make $30. She said, I can make $30. And I said, okay, well, I'll definitely help you out. Well, she happened to get into her my hands the coach opportunity then because I decided to order. I saw that you could get a discount, and I knew I needed to lose weight, so I saw Shakeology. I ordered Shakeology, got the discounts, and she happened to get into the one person's hands, probably out of 1,600 people now, who, and I'm sure Greg can relate to this, happened to see the policies and procedures, and because I'm a banker, I read everything as soon as I got it. And realized that I was, you know, gonna have to get 2 customers, and I could get, or 2 coaches, and I could get 2 customers. So I yelled up to Tina from my home office at home, and I said, "Hey Tina, I'm gonna order this Shakeology for you too, and you're gonna become a coach because I gotta have 2 coaches to get free customers." And that, my friends, is how we got started in the business. Just a simple 23-year-old just saying, Uncle Joe, if you're doing that, you might want to try this, and me wanting to help my niece. And now I'll share Tina, or Tina can share her story.
Oh my gosh, so I hope you caught that. Every time I hear the story of his niece and the simplicity of her invite, minus a script, minus any business savvy whatsoever. She's like a cashier at Walmart still today because she quit coaching, sadly, no matter how much Uncle Joe tried to talk her out of it. But the simplicity of her ask, and that it tears me up because she completely morphed my life, whether she embraces that or not. She morphed Joe's life, my life, in 1,600 and growing people's lives because she had the audacity to not keep our destiny on her tongue. She just put the invite out as simple as it was, and it changed our life. So, and I would like to back up too before I give a mini brief on my story, but I want to say how much respect I have for Greg and how privileged we are to be on this call. So Joe is kind of like our family leader, and I'm following him along, and what I know about Joe is if he introduces me to someone, they must be pretty smart. and he knows all the smart people, and he talks to them, and he picks their brain. And I remember meeting Greg and his bride at Leadership in the core shop, and just how genuine, authentic, and yep, very smart that they were. And I learned so much. I told him at this year's Leadership event, I don't think he knew how much he impacted me at that time, but just hearing how the number of people he had and the number of leaders that he had developed on his team, and how massively impressed I was with that. And it caused me to shift in my thinking about quantity versus quality, which is what I wanted. So thanks for having us on this call. So my story is like completely polar opposite of Joe's. He came from a business background. At the time that he enrolled me by saying, Tina, I signed you up as a coach, I was like, okay, honey, whatever. I know he didn't want me to drink his Shako. I was not into it whatsoever, although I supported him in all things he did, and I knew that there was probably a reason behind it. But his personality being opposite of mine and business oriented, I would never read a policy procedure or instructions that came with anything that I purchased ever in the history of ever. But he did. He started putting policies and procedures in front of me immediately after enrolling me as a discount coach. And I was like, oh, negative, shut it. I completely shut him out because he approached me from his mindset. And instead of being open to it, I was like, all right, dude, I'm not, just stop. And so thankfully, like 5 weeks later, he dragged me to an event, which sold me. And we'll talk more about the power of events. But my background at the time was I grew up in poverty. I grew up in abuse. And when I left my home, I didn't go to college. So I was without a college education. But I was scrappy my whole life because I wanted to create something for myself. And I was driven and motivated. And through a series of events, I wound up starting my own resume writing an interview coaching company where I worked from home. And I was also a part-time yoga teacher. No one probably would have ever asked me to be a coach because I would have told them how incredibly happy I was and fulfilled, because you take yourself with you wherever you go. And I was just happy working one-on-one with people. And I never saw myself as a leader, but one-on-one experience with executives, I could sit across from them and just manhandle that event all day long. But I would have told you I was happy, and no, I wouldn't have heard of doing something else. But what I didn't know at the time, that with him dragging me to that event that I didn't want to go to, is he was going to connect me with something that would fill a void that I didn't even know I had. This business allows me at such a magnificently larger level to help people and to make a difference in their lives, and in doing so, make a living of significance. So since those days, I would say, what's the numbers? I've quadrupled or more my income that I was making as a resume writer, as a sole proprietor. So part of my story is going from working for a company as an office manager or secretary to working as a sole proprietor. And I would work my tail off as a sole proprietor and earn well for each client. But I could only work so many hours as an individual. And I was getting paid once for one service, so they would leave, and if I stopped working, if I went on vacation and all those things, my income would stop. So this allows us an opportunity for me to make such a difference and feel fulfilled in serving people, and also get paid in my sleep. So that's not a bad deal.
Yeah, and what happened, I really knew that Tina was great at helping people from her business, and so all that happened in our start was, as Greg said, we're part of Tommy Migrant's downline, but we're not Tommy's PS coaches. We're a few layers away from him. But when I got plugged into the team page, that's all my niece did for me, really, was plug me into the team page. And I knew that this was something I wanted to do. I immediately invested some dollars into the business with making some cards and brochures and stuff, and knew I was in a business to. So I plugged myself into the team, and I started asking questions. And I noticed that there, like Tina said, 5 or so weeks after we started, there was something called the Super Saturday coming up. And this was in Bellevue, Ohio, which is where Tommy was from. And Bellevue is right by my hometown, which we knew was a really small town, right? So, Tina doesn't necessarily like going back there. But I literally, had been following along in the Swarm Cave and our team page and asking questions. I just knew there was something here for us. And I'm not kidding when I tell you guys this. And when Tina says that, I dragged her to that event. I mean, I had to beg her to go. And then, wouldn't you know, after the event, because I had made myself known in the team page, I asked a question, and Tommy Migrant, in his special way, knew I asked a question there too, because I'm like that. I just like I like to get answers. Tommy said, "Joe Gonzales is in the house," and he made me feel so special that way, by doing that. And it was because I had appeared in a team page, and even though there were 700 coaches, he knew who we were. And so he asked a bunch of people to go to his house afterwards. We went to his house afterwards for a little cookout, and then we started talking to him. We just told him about our goals. And Tommy looked at us and he said, "You guys have said something that others haven't said to me, and I'd like to spend more time with you." And he calls me about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, and he says, hey, Joe, I know this is out of the blue, but can you go with me and my wife and a few of the others, like Beachbody Challenge winner June Warner, Beachbody Challenge winner Greg Bird, and a couple others to this cabin on an island in Lake Erie? And he said, can you spend the weekend with us? We didn't even know these people. We're like, oh, that's weird. So I had to go back to Tina and beg her again. And she was I'm still in the process of forcing the policy and procedures manuals and say, do this, right? You know, all the things that she hates. And I literally sat there, the tear down my face, and I begged her and I said, Tina, can you do this one thing for me? And I really think there's something special here for us. And that's no exaggeration. And she said, okay, I'll do this, but if you make this a working weekend, I'm going to be so pissed. Because she wanted to have fun. And we get there, and you know, this is a party island. That's all it is you go out there and drink and have fun. And on that island, Tommy showed us how to form, F-O-R-M, family, occupation, recreation, message, right? Everybody kind of knows that now. And Tina loves to talk to people, and Tommy, that was our training. Tommy said to us, listen, you don't sell to people, you just go out there and you talk to people. And, you know, we had our P90X shirts, and everybody knew Tommy on the island, so we're like, oh, we can do that. So Tina would, you know, be wearing her shirt at the pool and said P90X, and she hadn't even done P90X yet, but somebody would come up to her and say, you do P90X? And she would say,
yeah.
Hell yeah. And she would start a conversation with them. And, you know, so that's how we kind of learned the business. And literally that was our only training in the business for 5 months, gang. We struggled for our first 6 months in the business. I think it was, now remember, I was working my full-time, I had my biggest year ever in real estate in 2011 when we started this. 5 months into it, I had my first $100 pay week. And I think about how many no's and how many friends we, you know, ditched us, right? Spewed on. We vomited on everybody. We made every mistake in the book because we really didn't know how to do it. And then Tommy put us into a training program, his first training program. And it was 4 weeks, 1 hour per call. And that was our entire training in Beachbody. And then they introduced challenge packs. And then Tommy gave us some scripts and some ideas what to do at that time. And Tina became a parrot. She just said, and we said, okay, there's one person we should be listening to on this team, and he's the one that's making the money. He knows what to do, so we're going to listen to him. And we did everything that he did, right? Yeah. So tell them the next part of that story.
Which part about me doing the scripts?
Yeah, the scripts and challenge packs and kicking my ass.
Well, I like all those stories. But no, what he shares is because I authentically knew nothing in the business, and I was just humble and coachable, and I saw that he was the person to follow because Joe pointed me to him. I literally when he rolled out this test program of the challenge pack scripts, I would literally copy and paste them with no questions. And we were working in our home in 2 different areas, and then with those scripts, I honestly started producing results. Like my results just started going off the chart. And Joe came to me one day and he's like, dude, like, what are you doing? You know, because I was starting to kick his ass. And I'm like, I was totally baffled. I was like, what do you mean, what am I doing? Because I thought he was humbly copying and pasting too. And I go, what do you mean what I'm doing? I'm just doing what you're doing. He's like, no, what are you doing? And I go, I'm just doing these scripts. And he's like, for real? You're just copying and pasting? And I go, yeah. And he's like, shit. So he's like,
shucks.
It's like, I'm gonna do the same thing. But really, I was completely kicking booty because I was copy and pasting, and dude man over here was doing his own thing, and he was speaking Joe language only. He was probably putting policies and procedures in front of people.
I was super salesman. I didn't need that, right? That's
right.
But that point is, you know, really when we were humbled, and those first 5-6 months we were humbled in the business. You know, I definitely thought I could, since I was in sales before, that I could do this. But the reality is I knew nothing. It was a totally different industry, different skill set. And we just had to learn from people who were doing it. And, you know, that takes us to, again, the power of events. And at this time, and I think this is important for people with, spouses in the business, whether you work in the business or not, the spouse, just, having a supportive spouse and coming from a place of understanding from each other. And I'd just like to take the moment to let you know what really helped me and Tina in this. You kind of see that, we're opposites. I'm the fun one. She's the straight face. Just kidding. So what happened was in January of 2012, we had heard about Danny Johnson. Tommy told us we should go to Danny Johnson event. So we decided to go to Danny Johnson, and we had never done any sort of communication skills testing or whatever, personality testing. And I don't know if you're all familiar with the color code test and, Danny Johnson's personality test of Emerald, Sapphire, Ruby, Pearl. But when we took the test at the Danny Johnson event, we discovered this. There are 4 sections of the room. Tina and I ended up sitting in the same exact section as Ruby's. And so we're both Ruby personalities, which means we're goal-oriented. We like nice things. We're driven. We think that we can do anything. We're very competitive. And then on the other side of the room was the Sapphires. Those are the ones that get up and dance and everything, right? And the other side of the room was the Emeralds, which are the straight-laced accountants. And then on the other side of the room, opposite of the Rubies, are the Pearls. And what was funny is that while we were both primarily Ruby, Tina is a Ruby Sapphire, and I'm a Ruby Emerald. So the point is this. At that event, we realized, and it was enlightening to say the least, we both knew that we had the same goals in life. And we knew that we were going in the same direction because we were both in this business and we were both doing the business, and we could see our why was so powerful that we knew the direction we were going. However, the way we were doing the business was completely opposite. Because I'm the details Emerald guy, and because she's a Sapphire, fly by the seat of her pants person, if I was trying to show her something, I wasn't communicating in her language, and she wasn't communicating mine. So whenever I would say something, I would say, why are you doing it that way? What are you doing? Using those kind of words, why, how, what, etc., which for Emeralds, that's our natural language. For a Sapphire,
What you questioning me for?
she felt like I was accusing her of something. And she would say, I don't know, but I sure am kicking your ass. Right? That was her total defense, by the way. That always came back, and I would just always put my head down. And I'm like, how are you doing this, right? Because you don't read a dang thing, and you don't do anything. All you do is copy and paste. But anyway, so it was that moment we realized, okay, we got to get ourselves together here. So I realized, see. So what happened was we didn't try to change each other. We just realized we were going in the same direction, and we just decided to separate rooms when we were working. Tina will do business her way, and I will do my business my way, right?
And I think the neat thing about that Joe wanted to share is not only if you have an active spouse, and Greg and I talked about this on the floor at LP Stadium about his bride being Pearl, and she was saving the world and giving out free sandwiches all over. But what an amazing heart. We need some of that, by the way, in our Gonzales household. We need some Pearl love with all this competitiveness. But what Joe wanted to let everyone know is, even if your spouse is not working in the business, understanding your spouse's personality and how he or she may perceive you in this business and how they may feel left out or whatever, learning the languages of one another is so important. Working or not working.
It literally has helped our own, marriage, our communication skills, understanding each other. And, it also helps out in our team. We run the team together. We recruit on our own. We don't give each other Success Club points or whatever, unless there's a real desperate situation, which it's only happened on my end, and that's only happened like 2 times, just so you know, in 4 years. So the fact is, Tina wants and needs her own recognition and everything, and me too, and so we like to be doing our own thing, but we come together in our team page, and she might post something and say something to the team, and I might post and say something else. We'll use our strengths in our team page. I kind of call it like the new Siggy and Autumn, you know, the hammer and the chisel, right? You know that they're different. They come together. And so, you know, I would say that Tina is great at supplying the love and recognition and everything like that in the page. And I'm the one that does the, you know, the systems, procedures, you know, having a duplicable system, having, you know, if there's some team drama in the page or something that goes awry, which it happens, you know, on occasion, people are upset. I'm usually the one that goes in there and fixes that.
Daddy.
But the point is just that we work together and we know what our strengths and weaknesses are. And that's how we've been able to build this business together. We're not, neither one of us have ever, just so you know, done any internet. Like, I have a blog that I've had out there for 2 years. I spent $6,000 on it, and I've never made a dime off of it. So I clearly don't know what I'm doing with that. Yeah, I'm going to try to work on that. But we have done our whole business belly to belly, face to face with people. We have a 3-foot rule. You know, if you're within, well, it's actually like a 5-foot rule probably. If you're within 5 feet of us at a bar or restaurant, we're going to talk to you and going to learn your name, learn what you do, and eventually try to move you over to Facebook. And if nothing else, it's practice for us. You know, meaning we're not afraid to talk to anybody, right?
Probably.
That's how we've done it, and then we just do it with Facebook messaging and stuff like that. So I'm gonna get more into social media and training and stuff. I do need that, and I know some of the mistakes I made, but I got to work on that. And we learn every day, and we grow every day in this business. You know, none of us have ever led 1,600 people, so every day we're growing and getting uncomfortable. And why don't you talk about that with our evolution of leaders as leaders?
Yeah, I think, you know, when I started going, then I turned into a super salesman, you know, so I was consistently hitting 20, 30 plus Success Club points every month in the cave, and I loved the recognition, you know. Well, finally, Tommy was like, dude, he was basically saying, you know, if you're a leader and you turn around and no one's following you, meaning duplicating, you're just going for a walk. So he pointed me to, he's like, you're not leading, you're just going for a walk. So he pointed me to my first leadership book, and this is where I was like, oh, ouch, I'm going to have to lead people. I've never done that before. And he pointed me to John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And I read that, and I was like, oh, man, do I suck. I've got to figure this out. So I started slowing down my Success Club points and realizing, you know, also with Joe's help, realizing that Success Club does not always equal success unless you're slowing down to teach the people and give them mentorship to help your people duplicate, because not everyone is a super salesman. So that started my evolution of personal development and training at a deeper level for leadership. And then we started going to things like Joe led us to GoPro network marketing training, and we got exposed to people outside of Beachbody, and that was a huge eye-opener. Joe kind of taking some nuggets away from that and rolling it into our team. So the personal development after we got traction and going in the business is huge and has been huge in us attempting to raise our leadership lid, our personal leadership lid, so we don't cap out what our team is capable of doing.
Right, absolutely. And we're learning and doing new things every day, just taking ourselves out of our comfort zone. You know, we have a very strong presence locally, so I wanted to bring that point up. You know, when we joined, you know, Tommy wasn't near us. He was in town about an hour and a half away or whatever, hour away. And we were in Cleveland. We didn't know any local coaches in Cleveland. We drove to the event, make sure we got to the event, made sure we made every team call. But we started our own team around us, just through that belly to belly and formulating close, you know, friends and having this nucleus that ended up developing and growing around Cleveland. And it's nice because we can get together for local events pretty consistently with people who are engaged in the business and doing well. But I bet you we have, you know, 600 or 700 people in the Cleveland area on our team out of 1,600 people. So this is a business. There wasn't too many people in Beachbody at that time, but not that we knew of anyway. And so we, you know, a lot of times we might hear from people, hey, there's nobody in my town. Can't get together with anybody. And you know, our response is there wasn't any in ours either, and we just created it. And you know, you grow that, you know, going from 2 to 4 to 8 to 16. You know, that's how you grow it. And so we just kept showing up to places and being on conference calls with people and going to these events and you know, having fun with our team, not just business, just going out and having fun with our team and creating a social atmosphere, which, you know, Tina is really good at putting together parties and everything with us. Then the other thing I thought I'd just say, we'd say is maybe just some new coach advice. Is that all right, Greg? Just running through that, what kind of helped us. You know, literally a deep why is the most important thing, I think, in this business. Just, you know, believe in yourself, believing that it's something that's worthy of working for to help others. You're going to do this day in and day out. Literally the 3 vital behaviors, even when you don't feel like it. I mean, it's so important, right, Tina?
If I was on my deathbed, I'd crawl out of my deathbed, over to my laptop, type something positive on Facebook, and go get back in my deathbed.
Right. And at least copy and paste 3 invites,
yes.
right?
Most importantly.
You know, that is, I mean, we don't feel like doing it every day, but really we basically do it every day. And I also think it's huge to focus on the activities, not the results. You know, it's just like our fitness. You can't see that happening. But the fact is, if you're out there doing it every day, the results will be there. And then 1 year out, keep looking 1 year out from where you are, and pick people out who are 6 months ahead of you, 12 months ahead of you. Not necessarily, it's great to have people like Greg on your team, but he might be 4 years ahead of you, right? So pick those great people that you see, and you can see 1 year out that they went from point A to point B, and because Greg might be at point, you know, G right now in his journey, and maybe we can't see that far. But pick some leaders out on your team and in Beachbody that you resonate with, that you can follow, and, you know, have that, you know, maybe what do they call that? Success partner, you know, that's also working the business well, and successful, not excuse partners. I'm sure you've heard that before. And pick people out who you resonate with, and you can see that track, and just keep looking 1 year out, 1 year out, 1 year out, and growing your vision bigger and bigger over time. So that's kind of the advice that we would give to people, right? I mean, just stick to it, right?
People have voids, you know, don't be afraid to ask everyone, because who would have thought to ask Uncle Joe? He was, in her eyes, you know, actually, I guess she had gone to Tommy and told Tommy about her Uncle Joe, and she's like, he would never do it. He's got some important job. And Tommy's like, did you ask? And so that's what she came back and did. She put the ask in front. And I think nobody would have asked me, because they would have thought, because I would have told them how happy I was doing what I was doing, but I had a void I didn't even know. People have voids in their community. We, to this day, I'll tell you, the community is huge, because we have people that show up at an annual party every year. I forget that they're on our team, because they never show up in the team page. They've never sold a single thing. They get their Shaco every month, and they show up at the party once a year at Summit. And I'm like, whoa, I forgot about you. But they have a void. They have no community, and we gave them that community. People have a void in income. They're buried in debt. They, you know, have children that they want to provide for in the future. People have voids. So, obviously nutrition voids and fitness voids. So people have voids and they're waiting for us to change their life. I didn't know that I had a void, and I am so forever grateful for that little girl who said, Uncle Joe, if you like P90X, you might like this stuff. Yep. That was her sales pitch.
You might like this. And the last thing I would say is literally, I mean, obviously I'm not the picture perfect, of Beachbody coaches. And if a 46-year-old bald man can do this business, I know everybody can do this business. So the one last thing I would say for guys, if you are talking to women, this has been very important to me. If you are talking to women, feature your wife or girlfriend with you so that they don't think you're creeping on them. And I always start out everything with my wife and I. And my wife is in my profile picture because I know that I'm talking to women on a daily basis too. And, it just helps open up a little bit more, and anything helps in this business. So Greg, with that, that's kind of our story. And if you have questions, we'll be glad to answer, or if we hopefully didn't take too long.
Oh no, I'm sure we have lots of questions. I'll just tell one story before we open it up. I remember Joe, I mean, he actually knew who I was before I knew who he was. And he's like, hey Greg, and I'm like, you know who I am? But I knew you were a Ruby because it was killing you that Tina was going into all the elite meetings and you weren't going to go in. But I didn't know she was a Ruby until LP Field, and we were sitting back together in the 5-star seats, and you were up in the elite seats. And I said, oh, Tina, I'm sorry you didn't make elite this year. And she's like, oh, no, I made elite. I'm just sitting back here with one of my coaches or friends or something.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, she was big time offended there.
Oh, man.
I wasn't offended.
What?
I just need to clarify.
She can't do anything to you to smile. You know what
But we did, like all the members of my team did notice you guys on stage, when you were holding hands, getting the elite award, and that stood out, and that was meaningful. So
that was a big goal for us in the previous year. Just so you know, I was premier the previous year, and I dropped my 5th diamond in December. And so I had all the points, but made premier, which is still great, of course. But we just said we're going to make it happen for both of us to be elite in 1 year. So that was a huge goal for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so let's open it up, and I will put it on gallery, and you guys can take yourself off mute and feel free to ask them questions. I know, many of us have spouses that we want to get into the business, and, feel free to ask these guys your questions.
Okay, I'll go first. I'll be the
There you go.
All right. The I have that that probably a lot of us struggle with is I love the 5-foot rule. That's pretty badass. Excuse my language. But so we went out to dinner tonight, and my other half was like, leave your card. Like, no, I'm not leaving my card. What am I going to say? So that's my struggle. So when you have your little 5-foot rule, what's a great conversation? Now, with respect to like the server, how do you even say, hey, that, just engaging in conversation in the little time that you have?
That's a great question.
I'll let Tina go ahead and take this.
We love to do this together, so we'll tag team.
Wingmen.
We're wingmen. Okay. So right now we're working on building one. Joe calls it our profit leg. So we're working on building that profit leg. So now we know whenever we go out, we're recruiting. No matter who talks first, we're recruiting for that profit leg. But before, when we were competing, whoever started the conversation first, that was their person, and the other person was the wingman. So we take our competitiveness to the dinner table. But here's, one of my favorite ways, especially with waitresses or, when I'm getting my nails done or hair done, I'm like, Jean, you always want to know their name first. I'm like, Jean, You are really a standout, and thank you very much for your service. Is this your full-time gig? And then I just let them answer, and they usually tell me, no, it's not, or sometimes they will say, yes, it is, but usually it's no, it's not, and I'm going to college. I'm like, really, what are you pursuing? What's your degree? And they'll tell me that. I'm like, what do you love best about it? And some point, the other person between us kind of chimes in, and we'll get the conversation going. But it's the forming, the FORM is where you from, or your occupation. What do you do for fun, recreation? So we'll do the forming. Whoever started it and engages in the conversation will take it to a point where it gets to that wall. And of course, this could be over several interactions because we're respectful of the waiter coming back and forth. But in the end, the supporting wingman will say,
we edify each other and say, she's not going to say this. She's very humble, but I'm going to let you know that she's one of the top people in her industry. You should really hook up with her on, because you should connect with her. Basically is what we do. And the whole objective there is to edify and, help nudge the conversation so that she can collect, as opposed to you giving your business card, you're collecting their information and moving them to Facebook.
Right.
So my thing will be, you know what, we should really connect. You're on Facebook, right? And they're usually 99% of the time going to say yes. And I hand them my phone, open to Facebook search, and I go, let's connect there and we'll share more off the clock.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm going to come to where you are, and I want to sit in the booth behind you and listen. I just want to go out to dinner with you a couple of times. I'm going to listen to the whole conversation.
We do that with our coaches actually, and kind of put them on the spot or start talking to them, and then we'll say that up to one of our coaches and edify the coach and say, you should really connect with her. And the coach is like frozen.
But Carol, I totally understand what you mean, because when Joe dragged me to that weekend with Tommy, I was in observation mode, sitting next to the pool, watching all of them do this. And I'd been watching them because we were there a couple of days, and I watched because I knew how to carry on a conversation with people. But at the time I was like, how do you turn this conversation into, how do I help you get not fat anymore? Because we were pushing products at the time. We don't really lead with products now. We lead with the business opportunity. But at the time I was thinking, how do I turn this conversation into how can I help you get fit? So they literally demoed it, and it was the FORM. So I sat on this lounge chair next to the pool the whole time, and I finally was like, I'm going to get up the courage to get in the pool and walk over and practice this. And I'm not going to try to do the M part of form. I'm just going to do all the questions and see if people stab me or what. So I walked into the pool and I approached these two guys, and I started the process. I was like, so where are you guys from? And they answered me. I was like, oh, dude, they answered. I go, oh, what do you do for a living? And then they answered me. I was like, geez, what do you do for fun? And I was like, okay, I'm out of here. So I was like, went back to the seat, and I was like, I did it. But then the end part, then I figured out eventually, I practiced that part. And for me, I wanted the M part to get them on social media. So I didn't have to tell them anything about Beachbody, but just get them into my world of social media,
right?
Facebook, and then I could, expose them along the way.
Yeah.
So that's the scary part, that engaging with people live, but that form makes it all easy. It's a formula now.
Yeah, and I know what it's all about, but just even the initial conversation, getting it started, that's the biggest struggle. And
I think a great question is that, is this your full-time gig? Basically something like that,
Okay.
Most of the time when you're out and about and you're either in retail stores or bars or restaurants or whatever, you might be dealing with moms who are taking a part-time job or whatever, right? Or going to school, like Tina said. So we've just kind of gotten used to that and, know kind of what's coming next. Because usually people want a little bit more. They're studying for their next step. So.
Okay. So with respect to like tonight, we've had the server twice. So that's why, my husband was like, okay, just leave her your card. And I know that you just don't leave your card, because that does nothing. You have to get their information. That I know. But with you, so when you lead with, is this your full-time gig? That's not actually part of. I mean, that is kind of part of forming. That's the the what do you do for a living part. But so you don't necessarily go in order, I guess is my question. The family, occupation. Okay.
That's just an
Perfect.
icebreaker.
All right, thank you so much.
Takes it from icebreaker, and wherever it takes it from there.
And I a lot of times I don't ask, especially if I'm forming on social media. I stick strictly with the career part because, as a mom myself and a grandma, like if a stranger, because I'm in cold market, of course. So if a stranger reached out to me and started talking to me about my kids, I'd be like, all right, creepy. I don't even care if you're a chick or a dude, but don't ask me about my kids yet. We don't know each other that well. But career, if you're in your cold market, I don't know how far along you are in your career, but if you're in your cold market, I get my scripts from GoPro. Like chapter 3 or 4, he goes into the whole formula. So I'll tell you my favorite direct script from there in cold market, and this works 99.9% of the time in opening up conversations. I follow his formula, and the formula is be in a hurry, compliment, and ask a question. So my favorite copy and paste to my cold market is, hey, Julie, I have a million things going on, but I just want to reach out and say, hi, you are a super sharp lady. May I ask what you do for a living? And I honestly, every time I copy and paste that, I'm like, oh, they're going to just think I'm creepy. And 99% of the time they say, wow. And these are strangers. Wow, thank you so much for the compliment. And then they say, I am a nurse or whatever. And so I'm like, what do you like best about that? And then they answer me and I go, oh, well, so I'll find the common ground. That's really cool. That sounds like a fascinating job. Anything you don't like about it? And they answer that. And, that's the beginning of the forming. And no, I don't then move into going into each one. I don't ask about family and all that other stuff. I figure out a connecting message, knowing that people are in a hurry. And I do want to get to the ask. So.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Anything else, Greg?
Yeah. When you do the cut and paste, it's on Facebook pretty much. That's it. Okay. And these are just people you meet and get their name and then you friend them?
Yeah, and so sometimes leading up to that, then, like I try to add new friends every day, whether it's just identifying them as friends of friends on Facebook or adding them, from people that we meet in the community. So before I do that approach, I want them to start seeing my name. So I'll have a list of people that I'm gonna just put a like in front of them, so I'll see what they're saying on their wall. I'll like it. I'll maybe like a couple of their pictures. I may compliment, just saying, beautiful lady. I'm usually pursuing ladies. That's who I resonate with. So I'll be like, beautiful lady, just something. So they see my name a few times. I may comment or engage on a post. And then a week or so in, I'm going to go into private message. So they've seen me a little bit. They don't know me, but they've seen me. So I've warmed them up a little bit. And I try every day to continue to add to my friends list on Facebook.
Yeah.
So you're not on the phone much?
On
On
what?
the phone?
Yeah, you message them, so if you're awkward, you have time to... Eventually,
we try to get them on the phone. Eventually, we try to get them on the phone for, say, closing. At that point when we know we got to, especially with coach opportunity, we want to try to get on the phone for that. So I think we have a better success rate when we do get them on the phone than just messaging. So I ask my team to get them on the phone as much as possible. But things are changing these days, and people just move. They almost prefer that, messaging as much as possible. It's hard to talk with strangers and get them to call you too. So it takes a little bit longer, I think, with the cold market to get them on the phone too.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Anyone else have any questions? Going once? All right. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate all your insights, and thank you for joining our call and for speaking. And we really got a lot out of it. So
hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate the opportunity, and we wish everybody well. You got a rock star coach. You know what? Follow him. He knows what he's doing, that's for sure. And everybody can have success in this business to whatever level that they desire themselves. So
we want to celebrate you all next year at Summit Nashville.
Yes.
So get your cowgirl boots on and let's go.
right, we'll see you there.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.